Okay, guys, really quick, I just wanted to say off the top of my head that I'm not the type of person who will argue with someone because of their ethnicity and try to out argue them because they're of a different culture or ethnicity. Because that's what one of my son's speech pathologists was trying to argue with me for about a location that we were supposed to meet at, and we agreed on it the prior night. And then when I literally went to stay at an Airbnb that was offered to me near the park we were supposed to meet, and then she calls and like tries to argue and say, how about we meet at the cafe? She failed to realize the reason why she asked me that is because we had already agreed upon meeting at the park, and she thought it would be nice, but it wound up being hot that day. So instead of her just admitting that it was pretty hot and she wanted to meet in the cafe where it would be indoors, where I tried to initially offer her to go be at, and she the one who wanted to be at the park, it switched around the next day when it was really hot, but she tried to put it off onto me and try to argue with me about it because she thought I was trying to argue with her by keep telling her, I didn't argue with her. We calmly argued. We didn't raise our voice or anything. But it's like she was trying to I found out the reason why she was doing that was because she thought that because I'm an African American woman, at least in this African American vessel, she thought that that's why I was trying to argue with her and say something, and she caught herself in the middle of it anyways, because like she started energy changed and she felt kind of like, oh well, maybe I did say that. Like she realized she said something, so it was an unnecessary argument. But that's the only little casual calm argument that we had just about the location, because it was unfortunate that I had to have her wait for 5 additional minutes and be late because I had to come from all the way by where the park was, where we initially planned to meet up at. And I just thought I'd say that for a reason so people can know. Just because I'm an African American vessel of a female does not mean I'm going to try to argue down a Caucasian woman simply because she's a Caucasian, and how society tries to have everyone look at Caucasian women as if they're like on the top of the totem pole, and me try to like say that I'm above them or I'm at their same level, like unnecessary competition. I don't look at stuff that way. But that's minuscule to me. So anyways, what we really wanted to talk about on here was this from Alex Schmidt. I had to wait a couple days before I went back into doing the part 3, which is this one now. It might be a part 4, but I want to try to keep it short as possible for people that have a bit of an attention span thing going on. I don't want to call it a problem, so they don't think I'm trying to offend them by saying, oh, what you trying to say? So real quick, I'm just going to start playing this, but right before I do, I want to add one more thing. The reason why this part is more juicy to me, because around this part of the interview, during the investigation about, I think it was Wednesday, when he tried to force me to come there, all of a sudden out the blue, when we were supposed to meet hours ago, hours, yeah, prior to this meeting. Um, there was something he said telling me, like he was checking me about not wanting to deal with my family anymore. He was like, I reached out to your family and they said they tried to come by one time. My whole family didn't try to come by one time. It was either one or two of my sisters, or my dad and my sister, or my brother and my sister, somebody, and my sister that was talking to my son's dad behind my back, and then she got mad at him. Then that's when she, like, there was a whole situation that was going on, but I didn't want to tell him that because he was already showing me that he was moronic by not believing what I was saying, or not that he had to believe, but not at least understanding or overstanding that there are different dimensions of perception. That's the old channel name I had, and that's why I named it that, because the topics that I talk about, I show and speak about the different perceptions that people have about one situation. And I was trying to get people to see that there's different dimensions of perception. There's more than one way you can see a person, place, or thing. So one person might see it one way, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way to see a situation. And me practicing doing that helped me to be more understanding of the behaviors of others. So that's the only reason why I was, recording this situation, because I already knew, like, and well, basically, that's the only reason why I told him I don't want to deal with my family anymore, because yeah, they might be nice in the beginning for a little bit, but I know what I went through with my family, and it was really toxic. And I told him in details about some of the stuff, but I didn't go deep enough. And then I started remembering some of the things that they had done, and how they were acting towards me. And I was like, you guys are acting fake to me. I'm not dealing with you, and neither do I have to. And the one thing that stood out to me that let me know furthermore that he was a moron, and I'm just saying that, like, not to be mean, I kind of feel bad saying that, because that's just how deeply programmed he is. And I'm not sure he'll ever snap out of it till the day he dies. And he already looks kind of dry, like he might be a little on the older side. I've seen older people that's 45 years old that still look really good. So that's not good, because he's quite skinny and tall. And I don't even think he's in his 40s yet. And I've seen some men on YouTube look pretty good with gray hair on their face, still looking handsome. But yeah, sometimes people's spirits be shining on the outside. I'm sorry. Okay, let me stop. Leave that man alone. But yeah, the truth of it is that he said something that was irrational. I mean, that was like contradictory to his profession of the job that he has. And that's why I'm concerned about people hiring people like him who don't have the mental capacity or capability of seeing a situation from a different perspective, to understand everyone's point of view, so that they can get like a full view of what's really going on, and possibly see, maybe why certain people do certain things. Like, don't, it's like he's attacking me, he's siding with my family to come against me. It's like, soon as he heard me say I don't want to deal with my family, he was like, oh yeah, she most definitely needs some therapy because she still has some healing to do. It's like he's trying to force therapy upon me, when I just told him my concerns about choosing certain therapists. And I did tell him I was open to doing therapy, and we already had it lined up at Self Enhancement Inc. for me to talk to another therapist. And it's like he still wasn't listening, that I already was open to it. It's like he was like, you need to chill out on that, because family is family, they're your blood. And I'm like, boy, in my head I was like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You weren't in my family. And when I start talking to him like that about it, he started seeing I wasn't joking. Like, you're not finna just sit here and tell me. It's almost, and this is him saying this around the time, I forgot if it was before or after, but it's on this recording. He was say I mentioned to him about how, after I got my son back from one of those, from either from when DHS had custody, and they sent him to my family after I had a domestic violence case open with my family before we left the house, because of the things I was going through with them. I was like, this is not my family. That's when I started having my awakening and then my grandma winds up passed away, and then my mom dies after a week or 2 weeks after I leave, which was a month and a half after my grandmother passed away. Things definitely had changed. And then I saw some changes in my mom, and I was having some concerns that my dad might have known, if he wasn't the one responsible for it. Somebody in that household knows what happened for them both to die the same way in the house. The same exact way. You doing that Bobby Brown and her daughter type death type of thing. Both dying in the bathtub at the hotel. But it happens to be, in quotation marks, an overdose or something like that. No, I'm not buying it. But anyways, I shared with him about the story, how I saw these slices on my son's back, like, and it did see two by the shoulder too, like on his arm, the back of his arm, or kind of by his shoulder blade, yeah, on both sides of his back, like someone was doing some ritualistic slicing with a razor blade on his back. And I was like, where did this come from? Because I was concerned about that, because I'm like, he's not in my care now, this stuff is happening. I know that the police was part of taking my son from me. It should be off with their heads. That's how I feel about them. And I don't even feel like if I did do something like that, it wouldn't be a full decapitation. It would be a partial decapitation, so that they could suffer like they tried to have me suffer. And on top of that, I told this man, Alex Schmidt, about what I had observed on my son's back, and then he gonna start talking some, was it the daycare? Wasn't he going to a daycare? It's like he was trying to imply that maybe it wasn't my family, it was the daycare, but the way he said it and left it at that was almost like if it happening at the daycare made it any better. Think about that for a moment. And it's on this recording. I was absolutely livid, and I started getting heated with him. He even said I didn't raise my voice. I'm capable of being upset with someone and not raising my voice at them. But I got really stern with him, and he felt it. So I'm going to play some of this and see. I won't play much. I'll make another part because I already spoke for like 10 minutes here. There's nothing to put on drugs or drug use or alcohol about anything I might say or do. Yeah, it's not something we need to be concerning ourselves with. So, during the time where when I had the wrong number for you, I was calling a lot of people because I didn't know how to get a hold of you. And pay attention to how he tried to make an excuse, but they had both of my email addresses. Idiots, just pure idiots. I did talk to some of your family. Because we have. Oh, you got in touch with my family. So, like, what's the deal with that? It seems like there's like a big divide with you and your dad and your sister. What's the story? Because they want to know. They've been turning to me like, is Royal okay? What's going on? Well, they said they tried to come by one time and you were not having it. No. So what is this deal? What's the story? I just said no at the door. Yeah, because the main thing is because one night, like when I got my son back, I saw they're gone now because I healed him. Like, but he had like scratches on his back that looked like someone used a razor blade or something. And I didn't get a chance to take a picture of it, but I just like recorded. I don't know. It might even be two scars. Daycare? He did go to daycare, but it was like a series along down his back. But that's not the reason why I stopped talking to them. It was mostly because at one point they were doing almost the same thing about the ignoring me, but it was different. It's like when I started working, I was paying them to watch my son so that I could work overtime, but then they started doing things like saying they couldn't be there and stuff. And my dad, he didn't really want to talk. He would say, oh, well, you got to ask your sister that stuff. So every time I speak to him about something, he would always say, I got to talk to them. So, but the thing is, there's sibling rivalry because my brother, I met him, gave him a hug, told him I love him and miss him. And I told him about how my sister said that it's my fault that our mom passed away, but I wasn't even there. So how is it my fault? This is something we... Okay. So they were not really responding to you. You feel like they were ignoring you? Is that what you said? Well, when it came to a certain... But I'm not saying it like the other stuff, because I don't want you to try to lump it together. Yeah, I mean, there is like a little bit of a pattern here. Like, exactly. Not responding. So I'm trying to figure out... And he mentions it himself. He notices that there's a pattern of people not responding. But instead of him recognizing that I have evidence of these people not responding to me, when it came to serious matters, they're in the middle of an investigation, everyone's ignoring me. Then the stuff that I'm telling them that will help them out with the investigation, still ignore me. But you want to put it on me as somebody who's crazy. You're trying to create a theme of me being psychotic or me being mentally unstable, when it looks like you, Mr. Schmidt, are the one who's mentally unstable, unfortunately, due to your deep programming and your refusal to see reality, remaining to live in a delusion.